30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18,
17,
16,
15,
14, 13,
12,
11,
10, 9,
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Greetings, my name is Octavio Hinojosa. I'm honored to welcome you to our cook-along featuring Chef Amalia. This is a special event celebrating World Eftc Day and a great opportunity to introduce you to the Education for the Children Foundation USA, for which I'm honored to serve as its executive director. Eftc's mission is to break the cycle of poverty in the community of Jocotenango, Guatemala. In a few moments, we will provide you with a very special Guatemalan culinary experience with Chef Amalia Moreno-Damgaard, a 9-time award-winning Guatemalan American author and chef entrepreneur. She's the author of Amalia's Guatemalan Kitchen and Amalia's Mesoamerican Table, which you can purchase by visiting her Instagram page posted in the chat function of this broadcast. We also encourage you to ask Chef Amalia questions throughout today's cook-along. Now, to speak to you more about Eftc, allow me to send you straight over to the School of Hope in Jocotenango, Guatemala, and introduce you to Sarah Miller, Project Director for Eftc, who will introduce you to Chef Amalia. Sarah?
Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Miller and I'm the Project Director here in Guatemala. It's really an honor to be able to share this event with you. We're so grateful and excited to see everything that Amalia will be preparing and showing to you today. Coming straight to you from our School of Hope in Guatemala, you can see our lovely computer lab behind us. You'll learn a lot more about the work we do after Amalia's presentation, in which you'll be able to see a tour of the school and see how we've been operating, especially after the pandemic, as Guatemala starts to reopen schools again. So we're really excited to show you more about the project. But briefly, we support over 650 students here in Guatemala. Students who come from backgrounds of extreme poverty, who don't have access to quality education, nutrition, health services, or mental health services. And we provide all of that here so that students can develop opportunities, develop life skills, and get the education that they need to choose career paths in the future and to be able to make a big difference in their communities as well as their families and have opportunities and give opportunities to their students that they didn't, or the children that they didn't have when they were growing up. So we're very excited to tell you more about the school. Throughout Amalia's cooking show and throughout this presentation, you'll be able to donate either via Facebook or we have an exciting event coming up in New York that you'll learn more about. You can also donate to as well. Every cent that we raise during this event will go directly to supporting our 650 students here in Guatemala. So now, so that you don't have to wait longer to choose the main event, I'd like to present you to Amalia. She'll actually be cooking my favorite recipe in Guatemala that's always served at birthday parties, at anniversaries, and special occasions. So we're very excited to have Amalia here with us.
Wow, what an introduction. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my kitchen. Bienvenidos. Soy Amalia Moreno-Damgaard, Amalia, Chef Amalia, and I am so happy to be here with you today because this is very near and dear to my heart, to be with you today in support of Eftc Foundation. I have a menu for you that is not only delicious, nutritious, but it's also very, very easy to make. And of course, very traditional Guatemalan. So we're going to be making 5 dishes. We're going to be making the churrasco with 4 complementary dishes that you can duplicate at home. And this is going to be a wonderful experience if you've never had it before. But I am going to start with churrasco, and then which is an orange and onion marinated flank steak with charred tomato mint salsa. Then I am going to make the chirmol, which is the charred tomato and mint salsa. I am going to make a guacamole chapin, which is the Guatemalan guacamole. And then we will be making papas asadas con crema y queso, grilled russet potatoes with chive and butter. And last but not least, we are going to make Cebuetas Alayama, flame green onions and lime. But before we start, I want to tell you a little bit about what churrasco is all about. So the word churrasco, it's the term that applies to the dish, the term that applies to the grilled meat, but it's also a gathering in Guatemala. And when someone invites you to a churrasco, they're indeed inviting you to a gathering where there is going to be grilled meats and all the complementary dishes that I am creating today and more. It is an opportunity for family and also for coworkers to come together into a cozy setting and delicious setting. When I lived in Guatemala, I remember participating in churrasco parties with my coworkers. And I remember participating. Everyone had a job. So someone would be making the chirmol, someone would be making the guacamole, someone would be marinating the meat, and someone might be grilling something else, and so on. So churrasco is a barbecue experience, and we are about to embark on a barbecue experience right now. So I am going to move on to my stove, and I am going to tell you about what kind of meat I am using for the churrasco. Certainly you can use any cut that you want, but 2 of my favorite cuts for this churrasco experience are flank steak, which I have here on my stovetop. Flank steak is very lean, but it's also very fibrous. So flank steak comes from this part of the cow, and it is delicious, and it takes minutes to cook. Another cut that I like to use is top sirloin steak, which is a totally different cut that comes from the actually close to the loin on the back of the cow, and it's very tender. So either one of those, or if you want to use any other cut that you like, of course, it's going to work with this. What's key here is the marinade. And this is something that I have made my style. I have integrated it into my cooking. This is an experience that I like to create for my family, for my friends, and for special gatherings when I entertain at home. So going back to the ingredients, so we have the flank steak. We have also some onion and some canola oil. And let me tell you about this special ingredient. This is Mexican oregano. If you have access to Guatemalan oregano, even better. What is the difference between the oregano that we buy in the States and the Mexican or Guatemalan oregano? It's aroma, it's flavor, it's texture, and if you want to end up with a traditional and authentic dish, you want to use ingredients that are authentic to begin with. And then it's really, really simple. I like to use practical tools that we all have in our kitchens. We all have Ziploc bags or different kinds of cooking bags. So I like to marinate my meat in a Ziploc bag. And it's as simple as putting everything in there. So I have my onion that it's already peeled. I also like to use tools that make my life in the kitchen easy. And basically, we are just going to slice the onion directly into the bag, and we are going to start building our marinade. So this is simple and very convenient. This is something that takes good 10 minutes to make if you're making a small quantity, of course. But you can adjust the ingredients for larger quantities. I am going to stop right there, and then I am going to add all the sliced oranges that I have here into the bag. And we're going to add the oregano, kosher salt, canola oil, black pepper, plenty of it. And now I am going to enclose the bag for a little bit, and we are going to massage the oranges with the onion, the oregano, and the oil. So we are going to release the juice in the oranges. And the oranges are not peeled, so when we squeeze the oranges like this, we are also releasing the oils in the peel, which give a little bit of a different flavor. So this is the marinade base. We're going to open it again, and we're going to put our meat in the bag. Then we're going to enclose it again. And then we will work the marinade into the meat. So you want to do this until the meat is well coated with the marinade. The oil has a function because this meat doesn't have a lot of fat. It keeps it from sticking, but it's very little oil, so you are not changing the grilling to actually frying, because it's just a small amount just to coat the outside of the meat. So I am going to start my griddle, and I like to use a non-stick griddle that is flat, because when the meat sits on this griddle, once it's hot, the contact of the meat with the griddle creates this sizzle, but it also creates this nice char that is desirable for grilled meats. If you don't have a griddle, you can also grill outside. And I like to grill with coals, natural coals, that is. And so the flavor is going to be slightly different. Why? Because coals impart smoke, and they're going to impart aroma, a little bit of a smoky flavor. When you cook inside on a griddle, you're still going to get the grilled effect by charring the meat somewhat, and that will give you somewhat of a taste, a grilled taste. So this is helpful to know, because I live in Minnesota, by the way, and in Minnesota our winters are very long, and this is what I love to do during the cold months, because in this way I can have churrasco outside during the summertime and cook it on the grill, or have it inside and cook it on a non-stick griddle. So while I am heating up my pan and I am massaging my meat, which, by the way, when you do this, you can put it in the refrigerator and marinate it for several hours, say 5-6 hours, or overnight. The longer you marinate the meat, the better it's going to taste, the more the flavor is going to penetrate the meat as well. So I am doing something else at the same time. I am charring some tomatoes right here, and I'll come back and tell you more about that in a minute. So say that your meat has been resting in the refrigerator or has been marinating for quite some time. I have another one that I have prepared earlier. And the meat will change the color slightly on the outside because the acid is going to make it a little bit on the gray side. That is okay. It's just there's just a lot of flavor there. So my griddle continues to heat. I am going to come back and tell you a little bit more about the chirmol. This is recipe number 2. And chirmol again is the charred tomato and mint salsa. This is one of the Mayan sauces that is perhaps the most popular when it comes down to meats. It's popular, it's also very simple, it's delicious, and it's got a combination of cooked and raw ingredients. And it's vibrant, it's not necessarily spicy, you can make it spicy. I'll come back to that in a minute. So my griddle is hot now, and that's what I am looking for. So we are going to sear the meat on one side for about 4 minutes. Then we are going to turn it over. Let me get rid of some of the onion here. We don't want that to burn. And you should hear this nice sizzle. I am going to put my timer at 4 minutes so I don't forget to turn the meat. And why is that important? Because there is a difference between cooking a meat to the desired doneness level that you wish. I like my meat medium rare. And for this cut, it's not very thick either. It takes about 4 minutes on one side and about 1 to 2 minutes on the other side for medium rare. So we're going to come back to this after 3 minutes, and I will continue to tell you about the chirmol. So the ingredients of the chirmol are Roma tomatoes, as well as, let me move this over here, you can see it. As well as a raw onion, and also chopped mint, lime juice, salt, and some hot chili peppers. And the chili peppers can be, if I were in Guatemala, I would be using chiltepe. Chiltepe is the national fresh pepper, which is the equivalent of the Peking pepper in Mexico. But it's a small pepper, it's round. It almost looks like a Christmas light, except very, very small. It's fiery, but the heat only lasts for a few minutes. And it doesn't hurt your stomach like other chili peppers do. It is delicious. It has a lot of flavor. So this is what I use instead in the United States. And this is Thai bird's eye chilies, which I have found that have a similar flavor, texture, and heat to chiltepes. So if you don't have access to chiltepes, you can use bird's eye chilies or Thai chili peppers. You could actually roast them right here with the meat, but you can leave them raw. So this sauce has one cooked item, which is the tomatoes, which are charred. And again, I started with a non-stick skillet, and I put no oil. It's dry, completely dry. I preheated it, and then I put my tomatoes there, and I have been turning them like this for, quite some time. So tomatoes that look like this, these are Romas. You can use also vine ripened tomatoes. They may take a little bit longer. So for Roma tomatoes, you're charring them like this for about 12 to 14 minutes. And what we're looking to do here is charring. We want to make them as mushy as we can. And mushy means soft, right? We want to make them soft so that we can chop them and then we can combine them with all these delicious ingredients. So my 4 minutes are almost up on the meat, and I am going to check it. And it has a nice char on the other side. And then I am going to grill it again for another 2 minutes or so. And so we're going to cancel this, and I am going to add 2 minutes. Okay, going back to the chirmol, we have our charred tomatoes, which I am going to move over here. And we have a couple of options on how we can make this chirmol. I could chop the tomatoes on the cutting board, and I don't like to remove the skin because there's a lot of color, but there's also a lot of flavor. You know, there's something about when you actually grill something on the stovetop like this. The caramelization also has sugar in the food, so that also imparts flavor. So if you're removing the skin, you are indeed removing some of the flavor. So I am going to add the tomatoes to this bowl, and I am going to get rid of my skillet. And this is an unconventional tool. This is used for pastry cutting in baking, but I love it in my kitchen. I like it for mashing potatoes, avocados, and salsa. So look, so you can go like this in a bowl, and this minimizes the amount of tools that you use in the kitchen. You don't need a cutting board, you don't need a knife, less mess. You're making the chirmol directly on the bowl. And then you can also control the texture of the chirmol, because you can see in this bowl exactly what's going on. So I like my chirmol on the chunky side because I want to bite into the bigger pieces of tomatoes and feel also the skins in my tongue, because there's a lot of flavor there. I am going to stop right there, and then I am going to add the rest of the ingredients. And this is onion. And this can be green onion. It can be yellow onion, white onion, any kind of onion that you like. This is chopped fresh mint. And you can actually use a combination of mint and cilantro. You can use one or the other, or you can use both. Flavor is going to change when you add more ingredients. This is fresh lime juice. This is kosher salt. And these are chopped Thai peppers. So we are going to mix our ingredients. And this is how simple this is. Okay. I am going to come back to this in a minute. So my meat is ready, and it is that fast, right? Because the meat is not very, very thick. But we don't want to slice the meat right now. It's not ready because it's a little bit rare still on the inside. So what we are going to do instead is I am going to remove these ingredients from here and tools, and I am going to bring my cutting board, and I am going to rest the meat so that it continues to cook for another 10 degrees or so. When you cook something, there is something called carry-over heat, meaning that when the heat is on the surface, on the bottom of the food, it continues to reach the center of the food that you're cooking in the resting time. So now we are going to rest the meat. I'm going to leave this on for now, on the cutting board. And then I am going to cover it with foil. What this is going to do is allow the meat to rest so that when we cut it, not only it is the desired doneness level that we want, but also the juices are going to stay more within the meat. That is the purpose of that. So the chirmol is ready. And let me tell you about spice in Guatemalan cooking. In Guatemalan cooking, foods are not necessarily spicy. We eat a lot of peppers, and we fresh and dry, but oftentimes the heat is on the side. So it's up to us to say, I want to add some chilies, or I want my food mild. So that for the most part, you would say that Guatemalan cuisine is not spicy, but it is spicy with some spicy dishes on the side. We have a lot of the Mayan stews that have a combination of the dry peppers and the fresh peppers and so on. And even then, they are not very spicy. They are very flavorful. So then we are going to continue and make our next dish. We are going to move this bowls and tray to the side. And I am going to bring my next dish. I am going to move my chirmol here so that you continue to see it. And by the way, when you make chirmol like this, you want to eat it within a day or two so that it stays fresh. So guacamole chapin, it's Guatemalan guacamole. What is the difference between all the guacamoles out there? What makes it Guatemalan? Well, what makes it Guatemalan is the combination of ingredients. And the ingredients are, again, oregano. We use a lot of oregano. We use thyme and we use bay leaves in a lot of our cooking. But oregano makes it very unique, and also shredded onion. So look, I love tools in the kitchen, and this is going to be a tool that I use for a variety of things, from shredding cheeses and so on to shredding onion. So we don't have to chop anything on the cutting board. So I am going to go over here and start shredding some onion. And what I like about this is that the onion comes out almost like a puree, but there's juice as well. And there is a lot of flavor, much faster flavor than having chopped onion there, because you're releasing the juices at the same time. And this can be the difference between a good guacamole and a great guacamole. Okay, that's my story. So look, here's my special tool again, and I love it in guacamole. So here's the oregano. We already talked about oregano. Here's freshly squeezed lime juice. Here's some kosher salt. And let's talk about the avocados. So here's some Mexican avocados, which, by the way, here in the States, they are wonderful. If you are in Guatemala, you will buy Guatemalan avocados. Guatemalan avocados, by the way, are wonderful. They're very creamy inside, and when you cut them open, they don't turn black. So you go to a market in Guatemala and you see all these vendors with selling avocados, and they have one cut open so you can see the inside, so you can see what it looks like. The avocado may have been there for, an hour or two. We don't know how long, but the avocado is still green inside. So there's something about Guatemalan avocados that are not only creamy, buttery, delicious, but they don't turn dark very easily. Okay, so we are going to cut the avocados, and let me show you how easy this is. And I have learned to adapt my cooking to a lot of different environments. There might be times when I forget a spoon. There might be times when I forget a tool, special tool that I like. And so if I don't have special tool, what I do is I will squeeze the avocados in without the need of a spoon. And this can be as easy as just pushing through. And the pit, by the way, is very small. As you can see it, I've never seen a pit that small before, which is good because then we have more avocado. So this look great inside. And we are going to squeeze again. And to remove the pit, you go like that. And we are going to squeeze again. And voila. So we want to make sure that we have all the peels out of there and so on. So I'm going to grab a towel here. And if you prefer to use an old-fashioned spoon to scoop them out, you can do that too. This is what I like to do because, look, we don't really need anything else but a bowl. Prepping is easy, and prepping takes only a few minutes, which, by the way, if you're making this barbecue, Guatemalan barbecue, for a group of friends, you can prep all the ingredients just the way I did, and then put them together in front of your friends. Grill the meat right before you are going to serve it. Make the guacamole right before you're going to serve it. Why? Because it's going to be fresher. It's going to be more delicious. That's the only reason. And with fresh ingredients, you are going to have a delicious barbecue experience. So this is Guatemalan guacamole. We are going to make it chunky. And how we make it chunky is by using this tool. So if you have some pieces here that are a little bigger, that's okay. I like that. So let's talk about sazon. Sazon has to do with tasting, and tasting food is important in cooking. I call salt and pepper the magic ingredients. Why? Because an ordinary dish can become extraordinary just by adding salt and pepper, and those are the magic ingredients. So sazon in chirmol, in guacamole, in the marinade is important. The right amount of salt and pepper can make the difference between an ordinary and an extraordinary dish. How do we know if we have the right ingredients or the right seasoning, the right sazon in a dish? We taste. That's the only way we can know. However, if you're following my recipes, these are tested. If you are following for this quantity, you have the right proportion of ingredients that you need to use. But if you are increasing the quantity, if you're adding more avocados, you're adding more, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, then what you want to do is you want to take some, taste it, and it's delicious. Okay, so here's the guacamole. I am going to stop right now and say, are there any questions? Octavio, back to you. No questions? I am not hearing anyone, so I am assuming that all is good. Excellent. a little bit of water. So now we're going to move on to the next recipe. We're going to make papas somatadas or papas asadas, perdón, con crema y queso. And these are the grilled roasted potatoes with chive butter, Latin crema, and cotija cheese. Let's talk about the ingredients. Well, I chose, these are roasted potatoes, which, by the way, these are the baked potatoes that you order at a restaurant when you go to a steakhouse. And they are usually baked, and then they dress them with all kinds of goodies. So once upon a time, I went to this restaurant, steakhouse in Guatemala, and I fell in love with the style that they prepared the potatoes. You can fall in love with food. And why? Because it's delicious and it creates a memory, everlasting memory in you. And when you love something like a good dish, you want to go back and experience it again and again and again. So roasted potatoes is a kind of potato that you can use for this recipe. You can also use Yukon potatoes. You can use any other kind of potato for the recipe as well. So we are going to now cook the potato in salted boiling water for about 20 to 25 minutes. And that depends, again, on the size of the potato. It depends sometimes on altitude. You know, when I go to countries where there is high altitude, it can take longer for food to cook. One example is yuca. You know, if you know yuca, it's another root vegetable. Like potatoes, they are called tubers. So sometimes when you are cooking food in higher altitudes, like in Guatemala or Mexico City, sometimes those 20 minutes can turn into 30 minutes. So I wanted to mention that because in cooking, there's a little bit of a nuance there. You have to use judgment in addition to follow in the recipes. And then, so you want to cook these potatoes in salted boiling water. You start with cold water, and then you set the timer to about good 20 minutes to start. Then after 20 minutes, you want to come back in and test it. And how do you test when a potato is done al dente? And al dente means that the potato is going to be cooked, but it's not going to be all the way cooked. It's not going to be raw, but it's going to be firm. It's going to be preparing you for the recipe, for what there is to come next. So you don't want to cook the potato fully for that reason, because there is more cooking coming up, okay? So these are papas asadas con crema y queso. Papas means potatoes, and asadas means grilled. So this is a barbecue. Everything is grilled. And so I have my potatoes that are already cooked. I cool them. If you're making this ahead of time, you could cook them the day before. You could cook them the morning of the dinner event that you are having that evening to prepare you for serving your meal at the last minute where everything is going to be fresh. So I am going to slice the potato in half. And what I am going to do is, before I do that, I want to show you that you want to make your potato stable. We are going to shave off part of the potato this way. So this will create a base to lay flat. You are going to do this on both sides before you slice it in half horizontally. Why is this important? So when you serve it, the potato is not going to roll. The potato is going to sit flat on the plate, and it's just going to look much nicer. So I am going to also slice it in half. I'm going to move it this way. And you want to take a good knife and carefully go like this. And by the way, I am going to start my grill again. In 1 sec here. When you bring my spatula, I am going to remove this slightly burned pieces, and I am going to just put them in a container that I have down here. So I wanted to remove that because I don't want this to start smoking. So I'm starting my heat again. I want this to be ready to receive my potatoes right before we grill them, just like we did with the steak. So coming back to the potato, I am going to slice it. Gotta be careful. All my knives are very sharp, by the way. And I'm going to stop right there. And then we have a potato that looks like this. So the potato is going to have a chive butter, and it can be onions, it can be shallots, it can be garlic, it can be anything you want it to be instead of chives. Chives just look prettier, and I like the way they look once they melt on the potato. So let me tell you about the ingredients of the chive butter, which, by the way, this is also known as a compound butter in classic French cuisine. And this is a combination of any kind of ingredient that you want. It can be garlic, it can be even anchovies, it can be any kind of fresh ingredient, even herbs like parsley, even cilantro. And so the basis is butter. If you start with room temperature butter, and also you want to have either lime juice or lemon juice. There's something about compound butters on grilled meats or on grilled vegetables that makes them more delicious. And that's what we are making right now. So the ingredients for this compound butter are butter that is already soft. So we are going to prepare it to receive the rest of the ingredients. So we have the sliced chives or chopped chives. I have a little bit of salt. And if you are using salted butter, then you have to be careful with the salt. But if you're using unsalted butter, then you want to season it with the salt. And we talked about sazon. So all these dishes, all these individual dishes is about sazon, seasoning the proper way your foods. Now we're going to add the lemon juice, and you don't need any pepper, but if you wanted to add pepper, we could add pepper. So let's add pepper. I happen to like pepper. So we are going to mash this with a fork. If you're making a larger quantity of compound butter, you could actually do this in your mixer with the whip attachment. Or with the paddle attachment if your butter is a little bit on the firm side. So we are going to integrate all the ingredients, and the more you do this, the softer the butter gets, and so on. So when you're making the butter like this, you could actually do this up to a week before your dinner, and you're wondering, how is this going to hold fresh until the dinner? So when you make it, and it is at this point, you can take a piece of plastic and create a roll or a cylinder with the butter, label it, freeze it, and then save it for the event. That saves you a step or two when you are prepping for your barbecue experience. So I am going to stop right here, and the next thing is going to be brushing the potatoes with a little bit of canola oil on the flat side, so that this creates a nice barrier so that it doesn't burn and it's nice and grilled and brown. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And by now my grill should be hot. And we hear the nice sizzle. So remember, these potatoes are already cooked, al dente. We are going to give them a little bit of color on this side, and that's what we're doing. So in the meantime, I am going to tell you about these garnishes, which are also very Guatemalan, very unique. So over here I have crema, and this is sour cream from Guatemala, which is absolutely delicious. What is the difference between other sour creams and this? Its flavor, its tanginess, its level of salt. It's just overall flavor. It's delicious, and it's a traditional ingredient in many of our dishes. We also use queso seco, or sometimes queso fresco, and those are fresh or dry cheese. And those are cheeses that are fresh, they are not aged. So normally when you buy them, you eat them very quickly because they can develop mold if they sit in your refrigerator for longer than a week or so. So you want to eat them quickly within, a few days, 4 or 5 days from the time that you open the package. If you're not going to do that, then you can also freeze them. I love freezing foods because that is a way to preserve them and lengthen their life. And then, you always have cheese in your refrigerator for beans and for this recipe and so on. So I have the two ingredients that are going to be our garnishes. And in addition to this, you could also use some fresh herbs. And I am going to ask Olivia to go to my drawer over here and get me some parsley, some curly parsley for when the potatoes are ready. And I am going to check and see how my potatoes are doing. They have a little bit of color. I am going to stop right now, and I am going to ask if there are any questions. Where can you find Guatemalan products in the U.S.? Oh, excellent question. Depending on where you live, you may be able to find them at your local Latin American store. So what I always recommend is that you call in advance to check and see if they have Guatemalan products. But you can also Google in whatever city you live in. Look for Latin American grocery stores. Nowadays, many of the stores that are labeled Latin American are Mexican, Salvadorian, and Central American, and even South American sometimes. So you just have to do a little bit of research, and also online, depending on what kind of product you're looking for. You can purchase a lot of things online nowadays. Certainly, more common ingredients such as crema and queso, those are usually at the grocery store. However, if you cannot find Guatemalan ingredients, good substitutes can be Mexican, or can be Salvadorian, or can be Honduran, can be Nicaraguan, and so on. So our foods are not the same, our cuisines are not the same, but we share ingredients, and we share many spices, we share many herbs, we share many flavors. So our flavors are complementary oftentimes. So that is my job when I am creating recipes. I look for, what is the closest substitute for the dish that I am trying to create, because I cannot find at that time, Guatemalan crema, which, by the way, I live in Minnesota, the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul. We have wonderful stores where we can find many wonderful, high-quality farmers' ingredients, including some Guatemalan products. And we even have a Guatemalan store here. So I'm happy. So is there a difference between cilantro and culantro, or are they the same herb with a different name? No, they are two different herbs, and the name is different as well. So cilantro is the cilantro, the Chinese parsley, that's also known as, and it is a different type of herb. It is very delicate. It is also very aromatic, and it is commonly used in Mexican cooking, Guatemalan cooking, Central American cooking, Asian cooking, and so on. So that is the cilantro that is very common here in the grocery stores in the States and in other places. I am coming back to that. Give me a sec. I don't want my potatoes to burn. I want to show you what they look like. And so I am going to stop right now. I am going to put them here on the side while I continue to tell you about culantro. Culantro is a different herb. And what it is it almost looks like a weed, almost like a long serrated leaf. In Guatemala, that culantro is called samat in the Mayan language. And samat is a key herb in cacique. Cacique is a Mayan stew with turkey, and it's wonderful from the region of Coban. And but culantro is also used in the Caribbean, and culantro is found in some parts of the States. It's imported, or they may already grow it here. When I have gone to Florida and some of the Latino-themed stores, I have seen culantro, fresh culantro at some of those stores. So the answer is cilantro and culantro are two different herbs that not only look different, but they also taste different and are used in different preparations. And in Guatemalan cuisine, we use both for Mayan cooking and for traditional non-Mayan cooking and so on. But it is very prevalent, say cilantro, in the salsas, in Mexican cuisine, and so on. So there is another question here. What do you recommend to drink with your churrasco dinner? Whoa, I love that question. So if you like alcoholic drinks, my number one recommendation is, if you've never had Zacapa Centenario, it's a now internationally award-winning rum from Guatemala. That is meant for sipping because it's so wonderful and so good. You don't want to mix it with anything. You could, but I don't like to mix it with anything. It is Guatemalan, and it is a drink that I usually welcome my guests with because I happen to love it myself. I have some Zacapa Centenario in my bar. Olivia, if you go in that direction, you're going to see it sitting on the floor, the long... Great. So I'm going to show you what it looks like. So if you like rum, this is an excellent rum, and you can buy it in the States. You can Google it, and you can buy it some of the larger retailers of liquors. If you don't drink alcohol, then there is a wide variety of drinks that you can have. And in Guatemala, we drink a lot of frescos, and frescos are freshly made drinks that are made with seeds, roasted seeds, also with dried flowers, and with a variety of fruits that are tropical, that are native to Guatemala, that never make it here to the U.S. or have not yet made it to the U.S. And so oftentimes we combine fruits, and we combine fruits and vegetables. We mix that with a little bit of water and some ice and some sugar, and that's it. Freshly squeezed limeade and orangeade are also very common. So sangria is another popular drink in Guatemala. So here's the Zacapa Centenario, by the way. This is one of my favorite rums. And It comes in this wonderful case, and it is a lovely bottle, and the aroma is just absolutely wonderful. So that's the answer for the drinks. Are there any other questions? I'll move on to the last recipe. And I am going to bring all my ingredients here. I need to move this potatoes to the side because I am going to come back to that. And I will bring my fifth recipe. And if someone could grab me a nice slicing knife, please, I would appreciate it. So this is going to be the Cebuetas Alayama. And cebuetas means green onions, and llama means flame. So you can make this on the griddle as well, like you did, like we did the meat and the potatoes. Everything is grilled in my churrasco. And these are probably the easiest of all of this to cook on the stovetop. So again, we're going to heat our griddle because we want to cook them, thank you very much, cook them for a very, very small amount of time. They don't need long cooking because they're very delicate. The only thing that we are going to do to them, to prepare them, to put them on the hot griddle, is to coat them slightly with some canola oil. You could also use olive oil. So we're going to brush them like this. And again, you can do this ahead of time and have it prepped and ready to go, and just to put on the grill. I'm going to move my oil to the side, and now I am going to make sure that my griddle is hot so I can feel the heat so that I can grill my cebollitas, meaning green onions, very quickly. I am going to increase the flame because they are not going, now they are. And that is important because that sizzle tells you that they're cooking fast. We're looking to char them for a little bit, not as much as the tomatoes, because then they will become very limp. You want them to char a little bit, but you want them to remain whole as well. So this is how quickly they cook. You can see that they're already developing some color there. They're also becoming a little bit brighter green, and the oil is adding some eye appeal to the cebollitas as well. You may wonder, why are they called Cebuetas Alayama? Well, there is a llama here, there is a flame, but sometimes in restaurants, when they make them, they're making them in these big fogones that have all these flames and so on. So they are usually cooked in restaurants that way. That's why they are called cebollitas Alayama. Okay, so that's it. So now we're going to finish our cebollitas. And remember, I talked about sazon. So we want to season everything that we make. And then we are going to finish them with a little bit of lime. So let's talk about lime. In Guatemalan cooking, we use quite a bit of lime. I will say that lime is king in Guatemala because we use it in ceviche, we use it in chirmol. You saw this chirmol. We use it in cerveza, beer. We use it in soups. We use it in tamales, and we use it, and the list goes on and on and on again. Lime juice imparts the acidity and that kick and that zest to bring foods back to life if there is no life in them. And even if there is life in them, It just makes them more delicious. So I am going to remove my cebollitas from the heat because I don't want them to cook any longer. And I am going to stop right here. And I am going to look at the chat and look and see what questions you still have. I'm going to grab some water and I'm going to read the question. I like to listen to music when I cook. Who is your favorite Guatemalan singer? Well, some of my favorite Guatemalan singers are no longer around. But I like marimba. I love marimba music. And for me, nothing speaks more Guatemalan than marimba music, because the marimba is a national instrument. It is a beautiful sound. It is very unique. And so, if there's someone singing to the marimba, but if I had to pick someone, I would pick Ricardo Arjona. And many of you are probably familiar with that name. He's from Antigua, and he is a wonderful composer, cantautor, and he is absolutely fantastic. So if you don't know Ricardo Arjona, Google him, buy his music. He's awesome. And his music is just feel-good music, and it's good music because many of the songs have very deep messages. Okay. What other cultural influences can be found in Guatemalan cuisine? I love questions. So, Guatemalan cuisine, and I did not tell you this, Guatemalan cuisine, traditional cuisine today, is a combination of Mayan influences and Spanish influences as well. And by the way, that's the way it is for most of Latin America. But every country that you go to in Latin America has different influences because they've had different immigration levels, and they have different immigrating groups that have come at different times. Other influences in Guatemala, especially in the Livingston area, which is in the northern eastern side, in the Lake Isabel area, there is a city called Livingston, where the Garifuna people live. So that is another influence in Guatemalan cuisine. And the Garifuna people really have wonderful cuisine that is based on seafood, coconut, cassava, and so on. And we come to coexist in that area, and there might be Mayan people that are living as well. So there's a combination of Mayan cuisine and also Garifuna cuisine. But I should tell you that within the Mayan umbrella, there are some 24 different ethnicities. So in the Mayan highlands in Guatemala, you're going to find different kinds of dishes, different kinds of creations, different kinds of ingredients that grow in that area, and that's what contributes to creating some of those dishes. So bottom line, Guatemalan cuisine has those influences. But I say that Guatemalan cuisine also has other influences that have come with different waves of other immigrants that are minorities within the minorities. But there are also other indigenous groups in Guatemala that are not necessarily Mayan, like the Xinca, for example, that live in the area, the eastern side of Guatemala. But there are other influences, and I'll say this is mostly in Guatemala, although you can see it nationwide. There are many Chinese people that have come and created these wonderful recipes with Guatemalan ingredients, and that Guatemalans have integrated them into their homes. For instance, chow mein. Chow mein is a Chinese dish that is made in Guatemala. It's made in China. It's made here in the States, but in Guatemala, it's made with Guatemalan vegetables. That is very unique. So I have also embraced that recipe into my cooking because I grew up eating these kinds of foods, and I absolutely love them. There are other Chinese dishes and so on, but there are also, many European delicatessens. There are many Italian influences in a tiny level. So, in general terms, we'll say Mayan is the base, and then Spanish is what creates what is today traditional cuisine. That was a long explanation, but I had to clarify that because to me, it's not just one or the other, but it's a lot of different things. Tell us about your passion about education in Guatemala. Why support an organization in like Eftc? I love that question, and I'll tell you why. This is my second career. I have a very long history of serving on nonprofit boards. One of the reasons I do that is because I believe in the missions, I believe in the causes, and when it comes down to my own country, it's very personal. And I have lived in Guatemala long enough to know that there are a million needs. And so education is the number one need and the one that can make you leap from here to here. Education is so important that I embrace Eftc for that reason, because children deserve an education, children deserve a better life, and what is going to change your life is going to be education. Okay, so other questions I can answer as we continue to go. I don't want to run out of time, but I wanted to show you how I would serve this dish. This is just one way, and there are so many different styles. I mean, you could create this, and you can set the meal in a buffet fashion, or you can do a fancy plated meal as well. I am going to move my grill over here, and I am going to prepare it for what there is to come next, because I am going to show you what I do. But before that, let's bring back the steak, which has been resting for quite some time. And the resting time should be anywhere between 10-15 minutes. If you let it go a little bit longer, just remember that carryover heat that I talked about is going to stop after so long. So that carryover heat only lasts for about 10 degrees or so. And then when the meat starts cooling down, then there's no more cooking happening under the tent of foil. I am going to uncover the meat. And it looks absolutely wonderful. And the way I like to slice it is on the bias against the grain. And the grain is the fibers of the meat. So you want to go against that. And it's important to remember this, because this is not only a fibrous meat, but it's also a tougher piece of meat. When you slice against the grain, you're breaking down those fibers. So when you're eating and chewing, it's easier. It's easier to eat and more pleasant. So when I say on the bias, you go like this. And why it's important to slice on the bias, it's because when you have charring, then the layers of meat are going to show some of that charring. And I want to show you what it looks like on the inside. This is what I love. It is medium rare, almost on the rare side. And that is the way I like my meat. So just remember, if you like it a little bit more cooked, you just cook it a little bit longer on the one side, say instead of 4 minutes, say 6 minutes, and then about 2 to 3 minutes on the other side. And you can experiment with that, and certainly you can make the meat the way that you want. So I'm going to stop right there. I am going to bring my serving platter, and I am going to see if there are any questions. What is your favorite place to visit in Guatemala. There are many places I love in Guatemala. Perhaps because of the proximity, Antigua is one of my top places. It is a magic place. If you've never been there, it's like stepping back in time. And every time I'm walking around the streets of Antigua, on a very clear day, you can see this beautiful agua volcano. Agua meaning water, volcano. And, I go back to my hotel. I am walking in the streets and I am just turning around, and I am turning around to just embrace and contemplate, the beauty of the serenity of the city, the cobblestones, the beautiful tile homes with the volcano. It's just a beautiful place. Second place, I love Panajachel for the same reason. Different kind of beauty, one of the most beautiful lakes in the world, with volcanoes, with the villages around, which I have cooked in all those villages with indigenous women. I love all that. And there are other beautiful places, Semuc Champe. I love Livingston, totally different culture, but it's beautiful, it's tropical, food is delicious and very unique. So those are some of my favorite places. I got more, but I have to show you how I plate this meal. So I like banana leaves because banana leaves are central to Guatemalan culture, as they might be central to other cultures as well. But for me, it's my signature item that I use not only to cook foods in, to make steamed fish, to make tamales, and to wrap cheeses, and to present foods, because they add authenticity and they add eye appeal. If food looks good and it looks beautiful on a setting like this, you're more inclined to eat it. So let me tell you about what else I would do besides this. We don't have the time to do that, but if I did, I would show you that you can make a hot sauce with chiles and onion and a little bit of herbs and salt and garlic. That is my chilito. And chilito is the spice that I talked about that I serve on the side. Oftentimes I make that in a mason jar, and I just combine a lot of different things like onions and carrots, chili peppers of different kinds, salt, pepper, vinegar, sometimes lime juice. I shake it, I put it away, and then within a couple of hours, it is totally pickled and is ready to go. So that's another thing that I would serve with this. Another thing that I would serve with this is the bread of Guatemala, the corn tortilla. And I would like to make those at home as well, especially if they are made with fresh masa. But, when you are in a hurry for convenience, many of us resort to buying good tortillas. And you may know, if you've been to Guatemala, that Guatemalan tortillas are different from other tortillas that you can buy in the US. How so? Guatemalan tortillas are a little bit thicker. And so when you bite into one with a piece of meat or with frijoles, beans, or something, you are going to fill up much faster, because not only they're made, many of them are made with fresh masa, but they're thicker. So one is going to, fill you up much faster versus eating a thinner tortilla. Tortilla is the perfect bread, the perfect complement to this meal. And it is traditional Guatemalan. This is what people eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And there are tortillerías throughout Guatemala where they make tortillas daily, los tres tiempos, the 3 times a day. And people go and buy fresh tortillas for their meals at these tortillerías daily. And it doesn't get any better than that. So if you don't have tortillerías in the US, this is the next best thing. You can buy them, you can heat them up, and then you can use them to complement your meal, or you can make your own tortillas, with masa, harina, and water dough, and then flatten them and then cook them on a skillet, a griddle, just like the one I showed you. You can also make masa from scratch, and those recipes, by the way, are in my book, even making masa from scratch. So I am going to stop, and now I'm going to show you what I would do with this meal. I am going to put my meat at the center, in a particular order. I am going to bring my chirmol. Chirmol is very sweet. Chirmol is to Guatemalans what chimichurri is to Argentinians, by the way. It is that important, and it is the perfect complement and the must salsa that you have to serve your grilled meats with. So I like to put my salsa, lots of it, like this, where you can still see the meat. Then I am going to bring my potatoes. I'm going to put one here and the other one there. Then I am going to bring my chive butter, and I'm just going to add a little bit like this. And if the potatoes are very hot, they have cooled down somewhat because I've been talking a lot, the chive butter is going to melt slightly and go all over the potatoes. So it's really, really delicious. And if that wasn't enough, then now we can put in some cheese, and this is cotija cheese, which is dried cheese, but it's still considered fresh cheese. And then we're going to add some crema here on the side. And then if we wanted to, we could also dress them up a little bit more with some parsley. And then I would bring some tortillas here to the side and just go under like this. And then I would put some guacamole here. And I am about to lose one of my earpieces. And then, voila, here's our guacamole. And I have my earbud here. No worries. Okay, so what's missing here is the cebuetas, which I am just going to add here on the side and fan them like this. Maybe add a little bit more chirmol and bring it up here, the color. And then we're going to move this out of the way. And this is our meal. May I present to you the Guatemalan barbecue, Churrasco. I'm waiting to see what questions you have. No questions so far. So this is the experience. This is the meal. This is delicious. This is nutritious. This is easy to make. It just takes a little bit of effort. Everything is fresh. When food is fresh, your taste buds dance. Why? Because there is no comparison between a fresh meal and a meal that is processed and so on. So I encourage you to eat fresh foods. And that is what I have in my two books, Amalia's Guatemalan Kitchen and Amalia's Mesoamerican Table. One is Guatemala-centric, and the other one is Guatemala and the rest of Central America with ties to the southern central part of Mexico. Thank you for having me. I'm still here and I can still answer questions. So I'll turn it over to you, Octavio.
Amalia, thank you so much for this amazing culinary journey. We really enjoyed every step of the process of you sharing, welcoming, first of all, for you to welcome us to your kitchen and to sharing your culinary talents. It's absolutely inspiring, amazing. I can't tell you how much my mouth is watering, and just want to thank you on behalf of everyone at EFTC for taking the time and preparing this amazing meal. And in terms of other questions that I may have personally, what inspired you to write your first book?
What inspired me to write my first book was the fact that there wasn't a Guatemalan cuisine book in the United States written in English, written from a chef perspective, written from a native perspective. I think it makes a difference. If you're born in the place where you're writing about, I think that there is a sense there of belonging. There is a need to reconnect to your culture. And when we leave our home countries, I think that becomes more latent in us. So I came to the US and I missed my family tremendously. I missed the food. And so if I can't have the food, then I have to recreate it. But I just happen to love to cook. So I saw the void, I saw the need, I saw immigrants like myself, I saw parents of adoptees that want to find a connection to the culture through the food. Food is a common denominator, food is a connector, food is culture, culture is food. And I love that. So that is the reason. So I wanted to put Guatemala on the map in a gastronomic way, worldwide.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Well, at EFTC, we value nutrition so much that we offer our students, our children, the children that attend our school, 2 full meals a day to ensure that they are fully nourished and are learning and have the best health possible. And certainly we like to emphasize the importance that EFTC places in nutrition, and certainly encourage our viewers to consider supporting EFTC, especially our nutrition program, because that certainly makes a huge difference for the children that attend our school. Many are certainly among the most impoverished children in the community of Jocotenango. And so we're just delighted, Amalia, that you could share this and perhaps even give us some more thoughts about the nutritional challenges that children in Guatemala face, if you can share some with us today.
Sure. When I have done research, when I go down there and I spend extended periods of time cooking with indigenous families throughout Guatemala, and in the Mayan Highlands, for example, I find that while their diets are wholesome because they are eating what they grow, they're also very limited because oftentimes they may not necessarily explore outside of corns, beans, and squash, the alimentary triad and our basis of nutrition. So I feel that there's an opportunity there to create more awareness about the nutrition, how important it is, because it is important to have a variety of fruits and vegetables as well as proteins. And so Guatemala has a wonderful variety of fruits, vegetables. The markets, if you go to Chichi, if you go to Guatemala City, they are feasts to the senses. But oftentimes I think it's knowledge, it's lack of awareness that we can create the same dish, but then in addition to using the same ingredients, maybe we can add more nutrition to that by adding even more vegetables. And that is the way I cook here at home, because especially the older I get, I feel, that I need to have my nutrition and my vitamins from food versus I don't want to be taking medication down the line because I have a deficient diet. Because food is medicine. Food is one of the best things that we can do if we embrace a healthy diet to feel good and to also grow healthy and to have hopefully a longer life, but also to expand and embrace all the wonderful fauna and flora in Guatemala. So I find that there is an opportunity to make those meals heartier, healthier, and so on.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Amalia. On behalf of everyone, we want to thank you. At this moment, I'd like to invite everyone to join us, and let's go down to Guatemala, to Jocotenango, and visit the School of Hope. And I'd like to ask Sarah to join us once again and take it from here. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Amalia.
Hi everyone, we're back here in Guatemala. Thanks again, Amalia. I am trying to figure out how I can get invited to eat Churrasco this weekend because it looks so good. Now I'm trying to figure out how to get some myself. Here I have a very special guest with us. Her name is Caitlin. She's studying here at our school in Guatemala. She's been with us for many years. So she's here to tell you a little bit more about her experience and what her life is like here in Guatemala and at the school. She's been studying English for the last couple of months and improved greatly because she's actually looking at a scholarship opportunity to go to college in the United States. So let me pass everything over to Caitlin and she can share with you a little bit more about herself.
Hi everyone, I am Katie, I am 17 years old. I am very excited to be here and tell you about my experience in Eftc. When I was 9 years old, I came to study in Eftc, and the first time I am nervous and scared, but many people were kind to me. And now I am studying marketing and advertising in my high school. Thanks for Eftc. They gave me a scholarship. Thanks for them. Now I am applying for a scholarship in the US for a Chican organization. I am very emotional. I am excited. And thank you Eftc for all help and support for me. I am really grateful. And now check this video about tour in Eftc and you meet the incredible stuff. Thank you.
Welcome to the School of Hope, located in Jocotenango, Guatemala. My name is Sarah Miller, and I am the project director. I am so excited to give you a tour and update you on everything we've been up to lately. After nearly 2 long Welcome to the School of Hope, located in Hocotenango, Guatemala. My name is Sarah Miller, and I am the project director. I am so excited to give you a tour and update you on everything we've been up to lately. After nearly 2 long years of closure to in-person learning due to the pandemic, we opened our doors to students once again on January 31st. Here you see our school leadership team hard at work. They have made a lot of changes to the building, schedules, and structure of the program in order to be able to bring our students back to classes safely. They have worked really hard to make sure that every student is able to return to classes and that we can identify their needs and make sure they get back on track. Meet our kindergarten students. This is their first year at the school and they love coming here to learn and play with their classmates every day. They are full of curiosity, energy, and excitement, and they are so stinking cute. This is our technology team. They really keep the school running. Without them, chaos would break out every time there was an issue with the internet or server. These new structures are called ranchitos. They were built to provide weatherproof outdoor classrooms. Without these, we would not have enough space to safely accommodate all of our students. As you can see, we have lowered class sizes in order to help proper social distancing. Class sizes throughout the school this year are between 9 and 12 students, depending on the square footage of the classroom. We have 50% of students attending in the morning and 50% in the afternoon, every day, 5 days a week. Students are so happy to be back in school. Our building is once again filled with the joyous noise of children laughing, learning, and discovering. The little ones especially are always asking if they can come on weekends or stay later. Our teachers have had to be very creative in order to keep their lessons engaging and dynamic, while also keeping students safe and healthy. Lately, we have grown our special education program. Gustavo works with students who need individualized support in order to learn as best as possible. He also has been training our teachers on inclusion and diverse teaching methods and strategies in order to improve our education for all students. This is our sports pitch. Every day, teachers use this space for more active lessons. We also facilitate workshops on many different topics, meetings, and even student therapy sessions in this space. Dulce is working with our 4th graders on teamwork and collaboration as part of a class that combines PE and life skills. You can see the new playground equipment in the background. This has been a big hit for students of all ages. Another amazing addition to the school is due to several Rotary clubs, both in the USA and Guatemala, who improved our water system. We now have clean drinking water throughout the school straight from the tap. We also have enough water in reserve tanks to make sure that the school will never be without water again. This is one of the 4 computer labs that we've installed in the School of Hope for our higher education students. This age group attends external schools where their education is either fully or partially virtual still. These spaces were set up this year so that students can attend their virtual classes from the School of Hope. They can now have the crucial social interaction and lean on each other when they need it. Meet our 3rd graders. Due to the shortened schedules this year, teachers are mainly focusing on the core subjects, which are Spanish, math, social studies, and science, because they are the foundation of their education. Parents volunteered their time to clean and touch up the paint in our classrooms so that they would be bright, fresh, and welcoming spaces for their children to learn in. Don't they look great? Welcome to our junior high. This age group attends school a little bit longer than the elementary school's students so that they can receive additional classes such as English. Meet our maintenance staff. Edwin is our maintenance expert. He can fix anything and is a master at upcycling. As you can see, our teenagers are a little camera shy. Meet our school nurse, Selena. In addition to healing wounds and providing important education and support for students and families facing serious health conditions, Selena has also been hard at work getting our students vaccinated. These spaces are incredibly important because it allows students to have the equipment, internet, structure, and focus they need to be successful as they continue to learn virtually. These are our 9th grade students who are looking forward to graduating this year. In addition to their normal coursework, they are also attending workshops and undergoing vocational testing in order to decide what they want to study in high school next year. Our kitchen staff is hard at work washing and sanitizing over 450 sets of dishes. Meet Edwin, our school chef. This year, our kitchen team is preparing 2 sets of snacks and lunches a day in order to make sure both the morning and afternoon group get 2 meals a day. The team provides meals that are diverse and scrumptious. They focus on introducing students to foods they don't usually eat at home, as well as making sure they eat plenty of protein, fruits, and vegetables. If you ask our students what their favorite part of the school is, 9 out of 10 times, they will say it is the food. Here, our students find a safe space and a compassionate ear when they need it the most. Michelle helps students develop the strategies they need to overcome very challenging and complex environments and problems. Ingrid and Juan Ramon are expert accountants who keep track of every donation and every receipt. They are also everybody's favorites because they handle payroll at the end of the month. This is also my office, as you can see. Patty and I were discussing something very important. When students ask Araceli what she does, she says she is a healer of hearts. That is the best way to describe all that her and her team do to provide safety, compassion, security, justice, and love to our students when they need it the most. This rockstar team keeps our higher education students on track academically. They help them develop crucial life skills and navigate the big changes and decisions they make as they enter adulthood, as well as assist them in securing stable employment in their chosen field after graduation. Our outreach team is ready to welcome you whenever you are able to visit us. They work closely with our volunteers, sponsors, and supporters, connect them to our students and the work they make possible. Our administrative assistants keep our program running. They do all the shopping, organizing, and behind-the-scenes work to make sure our students have the tools they need to learn. Cindy is a former student of ours and a long-term employee. Maddie and Carrie are working with our students who are writing letters to their sponsors. Our students often form really special bonds with their sponsors. They love writing to them and telling them about their lives, as well as learning more about theirs. Thank you so much for visiting us. We hope you enjoyed the tour.
Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed the tour of the school. For a long time, we haven't been able to have visitors, so it's been really excellent to have a chance to bring the school to you for those that haven't been able to come. We are open and accepting visits at any time, so please do come down if you have a chance to meet our students. I thank you for your patience. We got stuck a little bit in Guatemalan Wi-Fi purgatory, and we got to check out Caitlin and I celebrating her excellent English in the presentation. Thank you again for tuning in to our presentation. There is an event we wanted to tell you about on the 30th of April in New York City, and so we'll be sending that link around. Check it out if you're in the New York area. We would love for you to visit us for this big event that we'll be doing in person. Thanks again for joining us, and thank you to Amalia and everybody watching. It's all of your support that keeps all the work here in Guatemala happening.
Thank you for having me. Buen provecho.
Bye.